Hello, happy Wednesday. I am so excited to be here and talk about the month of Nissan. We are exiting the winter season, and we're headed into the season of spring, which is so awesome. And we're entering into that this weekend. So, Friday night, April 1st, in the evening, we will be on sundown as we're going into a Shabbat and going into that time, we're also ushering in the month of Nisan, which is the first month in the spring season. And there is so much that we get to experience in spring. So amazing. I mean, it's full of life. Definitely my favorite season. I used to think fall, spring, which one? It's for sure spring. Everything is beautiful. I love Austin. I think I really started feeling that more when we moved here because it's so beautiful and there's flowers coming up everywhere and spring is just beautiful. So I'm going to read some things out of our book, this one, Living an Inspired Life. And for those of you that did our January with us, did our coaching, we really went through, there's so much good stuff in here. And it also breaks down every month, every season, and all of that. So I'm going to share a little bit in here that talks about the spring. And if you have your book, be sure that you remember to pull it out because we're going to be using it a lot in the spring moving forward. And I'm excited. I'm going to talk about that at the end. But if you want to get it, you can get it on Amazon. It is on Amazon. I'll put a link down below, you guys, if you want to get it. So Nisan is the beginning of what's considered the barley harvest. And it's one of the most important months that there is. It begins the season of spring, like we were talking about, and Passover happens in this month. The entire month is like a prolonged festival. It is. It's a prolonged celebration. And it's really leaving Egypt. That's what it is. It's about leaving Egypt. It's about leaving bondage. It's about deliverance. It's about stepping out and stepping out from underneath what you've been under. And one of the things that I love about following God's calendar is that God makes things cyclical. So there's a familiarity. We get to experience the seasons, but every year we're in a different place. I mean, completely, right? We grow, we learn, we change, we go through loss, we go through recovery, we go through all these different things. So we get to experience these things as though they're brand new. And there's such a beautiful thing about when a season comes. Aren't we ready for spring when it's here? And aren't we ready for winter after a long summer, right? So it's just amazing how God does that, how he gives us both at the same time, where there's a familiarity and there's also change. And it's beautiful. In fact, in C.S. Lewis's book, Screwtape Letters, it's brilliant how he talks about that as when Screwtape is trying to train his nephew Wormwood in understanding God, who he calls the enemy. And he talks about how frustrating this is for them, that this is how God is to his people. It's brilliant. So one of the most important months is Nisan, and that's what we're going into. It is the month of redemption. It is the beginning of miracles, and it's the setting of your future course. So think about that. It's the month the Israelites were delivered from the Egyptians. And as a side note, it wasn't always the first month in the calendar. It wasn't. It was actually the seventh month. The Hebrew year originally began with the month of Tishri, which is now the seventh month. It used to be the first month. But when God initiated Passover, when the Israelites were in Egypt and he initiated Passover, he placed Israel into an annual cycle of redemption and commanded that Nisan be marked as the head of the months. So think about that. It's an annual cycle of redemption. Incredible. It's so incredible. So our lives are not meant to be where we become Christians and we kind of live out this life until we get we get to go to heaven someday. Our lives are meant to be lived to the full. And God initiated a cycle of redemption always. It's amazing. Okay, so the first commandment given to the Hebrews as they prepared to leave Egypt was, you are to begin your calendar with this month of Nisan, and it will be the first month of the year for you. That's Exodus 12:2, right there. So consequently, the Hebrew years are still numbered from Tishri, which is the month we celebrate Rosh Hashanah. That is the Hebrew and Jewish New Year, right? But the months now number from Nisan. That's why the Jewish New Year begins at the start of the seventh month. So it can be kind of confusing. So that's why we like to make sure that people understand that that is why the Hebrew calendar changed at that mark of Exodus. Um, so that is what Nisan is about. And I'm going to go into that on this video. But also, I just wanted to touch on spring. So Iyar is the next month. That is April. And that is commonly referred to as the month of natural healing because it's literally an acronym for I am God, your healer. So think about next month. It's a great month, and it's the whole time that God is taking the Israelites through the wilderness, through the desert, and he's showing them who he is. He's helping them understand that. So it is that transition as you're leaving from bondage to freedom. And it's so important. It's so important. How do we get out of a bondage physically, a bondage emotionally, a bondage mentally, into freedom? And that can be a lifelong journey. And it actually it is, because I feel like every year we experience more and more freedom for that. So it's the month when Israel literally traveled from Egypt to Mount Sinai, where they were given the Ten Commandments. It's a beautiful story. So, in much the same way, God's people are transitioning into a new level of relationship with Him. It's said a lot that the Hebrews left Egypt. They knew who God was, they had head knowledge, but they didn't know Him. And that was what that month was about, is Him showing them who he was. And the name of the month actually is I am your healer. It's beautiful. Then we will move into the month of May, which is Sivan, and it is the month known as the wheat harvest. That is the month we celebrate Shavuot, which in the New Testament, the Greek word is Pentecost, which literally means 50. So it's 50 days after Passover. And that is when God gave the Torah to Israel. And the Hebrews, they entered into the promised land. So, one of the Hebrew words for spring is also the word for repentance, which represents a wonderful picture, right, of emerging from the dead of winter. You see it around you, the all of the trees that are just kind of like twigs, and there's nothing growing on them. Over a course of days, maybe a couple weeks, they're just blossoming. It's almost like overnight. I love there's these trees around here that are pink and white and purple and amazing. And they literally seem like they blossom overnight. It's a display of God's presence and his power. It's so incredible. So it's a period of renewal and restoration. So align with that, receive that. Know, what is God restoring in you? What is he renewing in you? What is that? Is anybody yes. I'm not sure who's on yet, because on StreamYard I'm in two areas, two different groups. So I'm in our self-care soul care big group, and I'm also in our Get Inspired movement group. So I don't see names, but thank you for being here. It's awesome to be here. And yes, I feel like I have been in a time, I literally have been, I think, in a time of I don't want to say, my first thought was barrenness, which aligns with winter, and it's how it has felt, quite honestly. But I feel like it has been a time that I've had to just sort of step away a little bit and pray and wrestle and figure out, where is God taking me? And I love this message because I feel like I'm so excited for that entrance into where God is going next and what we're going to do next and what he has for us. There's a lot of change happening in my life. There's a lot of endings. Landry is graduating from high school in May at the end of this season of spring. And it's a lot. And I'm a grief person, right? I'm a grief specialist. So I know, I know what's happening is grief. I know I'm experiencing conflicting emotions. I'm very, very proud of her. And we had a plan. We had what we thought what she was going to do, and everything has shifted in the last week. And it looks like she's going to be going away. Not far, not too far, but moving out, which I'm I'm still wrestling with. I mean, it's coming, right? But I'm very excited for the journey. And I'm also very excited because I do feel in my spirit like a lot of what I'm meant to do and what I'm to step into, I've been kind of saying, well, once Landry's done with school, and all of a sudden God is going, hello, hi, guess what time it is? So I am in a season of really, I guess the word is leveling up. The word is really going after my own coaching so that I can really even be more present here with you guys. So I'm excited. I know this spring is going to be very, very powerful in all of our lives. So thank you for being a part of the journey with us and with me. So I'm excited. So, this is a time to display God's presence and his power. And so, what is God restoring in you? I definitely, and I know I've said this publicly, which is the first time, but I'm going to write my book this year. That has been something on the back that I haven't really had the ability to say out loud or to say or to claim like this is the time. So I'm excited about that. So what is he renewing in your heart right now? Is anything coming up that he's renewing for you? Share it with us. And then if you're not watching this live, if you're watching this later, please share it with us. It's awesome. Okay, so what God does in the natural world, he also does in the spiritual world. We experience refreshment in his presence. So we should pray with a great expectancy of what is coming. What is he doing? And to find we're leaving behind that barrenness of winter and the depression of it. Everything is blanketed over. But we know that that is when the seed that is down there is actually growing roots. There's so much growing because how else would it spring in this season, right? So don't be fooled or don't underestimate what has been happening during this season of winter. So if you have experienced change, heartache, trauma, things coming forth, if you've experienced a lot of you that I've had the great honor and pleasure to work with have been working through a lot of deep stuff, going through grief recovery and having breakthroughs and having these connections, which I believe are just going to catapult you into the next place. So nothing comes back void. Anything that you do to invest in you and to whether it's financially or time wise or anything, it will reap a harvest, right? Reaping and sowing is not meant to be a bad thing. We always tend to say, oh, that person must have you're going to reap what you sow. It was actually said for the positive, right? It's designed so that you have that ability to you have a goal and then you reverse engineer that goal and you sow and you sow, and that's how it works, right? So there's a great quote that I always have here. It says, I got this, actually, I wrote this down last time we did the self-parenting, which we're going to do in the summer. If you do what you say if you do what you say you will do, you can become what you say you will be. It's an integrity thing, right? It's a building of that. So it's awesome. Okay, so what are you leaving behind and stepping into? What scarcity are you leaving behind to step into this restored vitality and engage in new forms of activity? What are you going to be putting in? When spring comes warmer days, more exercise, more getting outside, all of those things as well. So let's dig into the month of Nissan. I have so much that I thought I'm going to have to break this up, which actually works because there's so much happening in this next month of April. So we're going to start with the month of Nissan. I'm going to touch a little bit on the Omer and on Passover. And then each week we're going to delve into that much, much deeper. So very, very exciting. Okay, so So this month is connected to the tribe of Judah. It is connected to the tribe of Judah. It's awesome. And I'm going to actually read out of our book here because Dan did such a great job with this. So the month of Nissan, if you have your book and you haven't taken it out in a while, I recommend that you do. There's a lot of great stuff, and there's space to write over here what you're learning and what you're experiencing. So the tribe of Judah represents and includes the four letters Havayah, Havayah, and that's the four-letter Hebrew word for the name of God of Israel. Judah also represents the path of Betul, which is selflessness, which is the most vital ingredient to leadership of any kind, right? I think of leadership first and foremost as a parent. As a parent, you're leading your kids as you're parenting them. And if you're a parent, you know that selflessness is key. It is key. We had someone tell us when we got engaged that being married is going to squeeze out the selfishness, and then whatever's left is going to get squeezed out when you have kids. And there's something about being in that small community and being, in community that you want to think of others, right? And there's nothing like that in your own home. So this month actually represents God and that selflessness, right? That's that vital ingredient to true leadership. So Judah was a powerful leader. He was a leader in both warfare, and his descendants were kings of Israel, beginning with David, King David, and ending with our Messiah, our Messiah, with Yeshua. So incredible. Obviously, Judah is strong. It's the first, it's the leader. So it's the first tribe here. This month is the month that Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt, and it is dedicated to thanking God for his deliverance. So as you go into this month, come from a posture of gratitude of what God has delivered you from and what God is continuing to deliver you from. What is that? So it is dedicated to thanking him for his deliverance. As you pray over this month, which I highly recommend that you do, Rosh Chodesh this Saturday is a double whammy because it's Sabbath and it's the Rosh Chodesh. It's the first day, the first full day, right, of the month. And you want to set it apart to make it holy. And you want to pray over the month. God is going to bless that. He's going to bless it. So when you pray over that month, declare that the fullness of your harvest is being secured and that every seed you sow will prosper in new ways. I'm going to actually post that because that is worth posting and it's worth repeating, right? It's worth really putting it into your mindset that you are going to declare the fullness of your harvest is secured. How incredible is that? Because if you, like me, I can do this. I can feel secure depending on many things, but one of those things is how much money is in the bank account. Do we have enough for this? Do we have enough for this? And I find that the times that we don't have a lot and the times that we do have more than what we need, I have that same feeling inside, that same, like there's a fear if we don't have enough, and then there's a fear, well, what if we don't use it right? Like, what? That's crazy. And I love this. It's not crazy. It's not aligning with God's what his harvest is and what he's doing, right? It's not aligning with that. So I'm going to take that captive and I'm going to declare in its place, I'm going to align with God's truth. And this month represents the fullness of our harvest is secure. It is secure. And every seed that we sow will prosper. So during this Passover month, we stand at our promised land and we prepare to enter into a new season of inheritance. So wherever you are, you're going into the next step of that. You're going higher, you're going further, you're going deeper. Whatever that is, that's what you're standing on and what we're going to prepare us to step into, right? So invite God to deliver you from anything that might hinder you from entering in. What fears, what thoughts, what self-fulfilling prophecies run your mind, run your program, We're going to be talking a lot about that this month, a lot about that. So ask, invite God in to deliver you. It's also a season to war for your covenant promises. When I think of that, I think immediately of Jacob wrestling with God. He was warring for his inheritance. The interesting thing was he already had it. He got his inheritance back when he stole it from his brother, right? He was given the inheritance, but it took his whole lifetime and then a literal wrestling, until he actually felt it, till he received it. This is the month to war for that. And we're going to do that together. We're going to do that with you. In faith, declare the freedom that you have in Jesus and embrace the miracles that await. Every prison door that has held you captive is being opened. I remember a session that I was in many years ago, many years ago. A therapy that was very powerful for me. One of the ones that was actually very helpful for me back, this is going a long way back in my 20s. And I'll never forget this. We did a guided visualization, I would say, like a visualization. It wasn't really a meditation. It was definitely a guided visualization. And one of the things she had me do is close my eyes. And if you are on here and you're listening, I want you to do this. Close your eyes. Visualize yourself in a jail cell. And whatever that jail cell looks like, and you can even put on that, what is the jail cell? Is it how you view yourself? Is it how you view your future? Is it what is it? I know something's coming up for you if you're listening to this. And I want you to visualize now the keys to that jail cell. Where are the keys? Do you see them? Now I want you to visualize yourself reaching out for them. Can you reach them? Pick them up and open that door and go out of the door. And you're free. And just think about this for a minute. What was the jail cell that you visualized? When I visualized it, I remember it was weird. I think I had been to Disneyland so many times. If you've ever been on the Pirates of the Caribbean, there's this one part where you're going by and you see the guys, they're in their jail cells, and I think that one's holding a lantern, and then there's a dog sitting there with the keys, and he's leaning like this, and they're all going, come on, bring us the keys, right? So in my mind, my jail cell was kind of like that. It was like in this gloomy, weird, wet kind of place. And the keys were hanging on a ring right outside the door on a hook. And as she walked me through this process, I reached through and I pulled them in and I unlocked the door and went out. And as we talked through that, she said, isn't it interesting that the keys were within your grasp? And for some people, the keys might not be in your grasp. She was talking about that as we were breaking through. How did I visualize that? Now, I just did something very quick, and we were doing this for a session, and it was very intense. But I want to ask you right now, when you pictured that, were the keys in your vision? Because the keys are, you can heal. You can. And you can step boldly and confidently into where God is calling you. And that's why we love this group so much. That's why we love partnering with you, not just to be a voice of inspiration, but to be those steps that bridge the gap between that inspiration and destiny. We want to see freedom. We want to experience it, and we want to help as many people as we can experience a true freedom. So whatever it is that has you locked up in your mind in a cell of any kind, write it down, share it with us, and let us know. Hey, honey, can you grab that? It's laundry. Oh, did I just hang up? And let us know. Share it with us. We'd love to be praying with you. We have so many resources, and plugging into this is just one of them that we love. And we love to align it with God's calendar and with his promises. There's so much power in that. Okay. So prepare to enter into a new season of inheritance. And remember that God is desiring to set you free. He wants to deliver you. You know that in the month of Av, which we'll be talking about a few months from now, which is the month that the Israelites did not enter into the promised land, that is the month of heartbreak for God, because he so wanted them to find that, to feel that. And they did eventually, right? It was waylaid 40 years later, right? Okay, so we're warring for our covenant promises. In faith, declare the freedom you have in Jesus and embrace the miracles that await. Every prison door that has held you captive is being opened. Pray for God to reveal those doors and declare that you have passed through the other side. Spring is a beautiful illustration of repentance, emerging from the dead of winter and positioning yourself to flourish. One of the things that we love to talk about and is a tool, and if you've never done this, I want to say do this today. If something comes against you in your mind, if you feel it in your body, if you feel triggered, whatever it is, I want you to take the moment and name it. And whatever that is, a spirit of fear, a spirit of doubt, a spirit of insecurity, whatever it is, and repent from agreeing with it. Repent from agreeing with it. God will deal with that. You have the power to repent. You have the power to change your focus, and it's possible. And as you do that, it will get stronger and stronger. It is powerful. It is a mind change. It is a shift. Repentance is turning 180 degrees, and it is possible. Okay, so the month of Nissan, we talked about the tribe that it is connected to. And it has the Passover, the unleavened bread, the first fruits. We also are going to start counting the Myomer, which is just huge. It's the constellation is connected to Aries, which is the ram. I bet you can guess why this month is connected to that. And we're going to talk about that in more detail. We're going to go back to that, but it is the Hebraic term is for the stage of growth of grain when the seeds have reached its full size. That is the Hebraic term, which is Abib or Aviv, and that's connected to Nisan. And that is when the growth of grain has come to its full size. The harvest was waved before the Lord this month in Leviticus. And as you pray over your first fruits giving and other offerings during this month, wave your gift before God, declaring that the fullness of your harvest is being secured. It's so awesome as we do that. And the promise that God has as we give, and as we give of our time, of our money, and especially when we set up our first fruits. So let's see. Okay. It's so awesome. Okay, I've already read some of this, so I don't want to repeat. Okay, so we are a part of God's covenant with Abraham through Jesus. We are his chosen. We get to experience that inheritance. We are grafted into the tribe of Abraham, and we get to experience that. Let's see. This is really cool. It's the month of the beginning of miracles, and we're called to operate in that. How many of you, when you hear a story of a great miracle or something miraculous, I feel like every time I study these things out and I look at the dates and what God does on those dates, I always think this is miraculous. This is amazing. But we're also moved when people have stories of miraculous, of things being healed or of things being discovered or breakthroughs. I get to experience that firsthand working with people doing grief recovery, and I love it. It is my favorite thing when I'm working with someone and they begin to break free, something shifts and they begin to see something in a new perspective because of the healing that's happening. It's the best thing. It's just the best thing ever. It's been an incredible week of that this week. I have gotten to be a witness to that many times. This week has been amazing. This month is also associated with our speech, the ability to express our deepest feelings and insights. So you want to be aware of what you're speaking, and you don't want to speak negative, focusing on the negative. You will be setting yourself up. This also being a first month of the year, you're setting the tone for the year. And I love how God gives us the opportunity to do that twice, because we kind of get to have that new year in September, and then we get to revisit that here this month. So you want to plant the seed of the positive and where God is taking you. It's very, very, very powerful. Remember, like we said, this is the month to speak your thankfulness of what God has delivered you from. So focusing on that. So this is amazing. It's biblically, Nisan signifies the new year of kings. It's a month when political changes take place. It's a great time to evaluate what you're aligning with. Evaluate that. It is a controller month. So if in the kind of like looking at your businesses, it's also a month on our calendar that we're preparing, right, for taxes. So it's interesting to me that that would be aligned with that, because this month that we're going into is preparing that, looking over your businesses, making sure that you're aligning, that everything is organized, and that you're really focused on that. This is that month. Interesting, that's connected to that. It says the fact that the tax system of our nation is linked to this month is no coincidence. This is the month that to learn to fish, right? In the way that Jesus did. He said, he told his disciples, go get the fish, and there will be a coin in the mouth to pay the taxes. Isn't that interesting? It's so cool how God does these things. So evaluate your life. How are you positioned? It's the time to spring cleaning, right? Where that's aligning to. We want to organize. We want to be prepared, have strategies, have anything in place that you want to have in place. So, and you want to bring that to God. Bring it before him. Think about that. Think about putting your business, your family, your whatever those things are, and how you want to structure that before God. Ask him for that blessing. Bring that before him. Ask him for his guidance, where he wants you to take these things. How does he want you to move forward? Asking him, listening for that, aligning with that. So this is just really cool to think about. On the 10th day of Nisan, Abraham was given a covenant with God. They call it the Abrahamic Covenant. Also, what is that called? Circumcision. It's a covenant of circumcision. There's so much. I went down a rabbit hole, and that was so interesting. I was like, I can't even touch on that. Maybe we'll talk about that more. The Abrahamic, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong, the covenant. But it was on the 10th of Nisan. Exactly 1 year later, Isaac was born on the 10th of Nisan. Isn't that interesting? That is the day, the year before that was the day that God changed Abram's name to Abraham and Sarai's name to Sarah. And I have shared this before, and this is one of my favorite stories when I started learning and understanding the power of numbers and letters in the Hebrew alphabet. And so the letter H is the fifth number of the Hebrew alphabet. And it has so much meaning to it, but one of them is the power of God to do the impossible. And it is connected to David grabbing 5 stones, because David knows the power in that. He only used 1, right? But he pulled up 5. Well, this is so interesting, because the letter H that God added to Abram's name and Sarai's name, all he changed was 1 letter. And it was the power of him to do the impossible. They were 99 and 100 and had a baby. So 1 year to the day, Isaac was born. And so the covenant between God and Abraham was on the day of holy consecration, the 10th day of Nisan, which then would later be the day that a sacrificial lamb is chosen to sacrifice on Pesach, which happens on the 14th of Nisan, the 14th day of Nisan, which also happens to be the day, however many years later, I've learned that Isaac was much, much older than we thought when Abraham took him to Mount Moriah and was going to sacrifice him on the 14th day. No coincidence. It's amazing. And that would be the day that Jesus would be sacrificed. Amazing. So as we move into April, a week. So we have on Friday will be the first day that is going to be ushering in Rosh Chodesh, the first day of the week, of the month, and of this new year. Powerful weekend. Amazing. On the 8th, that next week, actually on the 6th, we're going to talk a lot about preparing for Pesach and why, as a believer, do we celebrate Pesach? Why? And we have a whole bunch of that in here, and we're going to talk about that next week. And then Pesach happens on the 15th, Friday. It also happens to align, which doesn't happen very often, or maybe every 4 years. I don't know. But it's aligning on our calendar. On the 15th is also Good Friday. And it's also when Passover begins. And then on Saturday, the 16th, we begin counting the Omer. And I am super excited about that. This year, we are going to be counting the Omer in this group, in the self-care, soul care sanctuary group. We're going to be doing this as a group. This is going to be a free thing we're going to just do together. We're not going to be doing coaching with it. We're just going to be counting the Pesach. Counting the Omer. So from the days from Pesach leading up to Pentecost. And I wanted to read a little bit about that from our book. So the 49 days from Passover to Shavuot, which is Pentecost, have traditionally been a period of both spiritual elevation and self-fulfillment, which is going to be incredible. We're going to go deep into that later on in the month. So every evening from the second night of Passover to the day before Shavuot, we count another day, marking those 49 days or the 7 weeks between the two holidays. And since it's known as counting the Omer, because Omer is barley, and it's aligning with when they started counting the measure of barley that was offered in the Holy Temple in Jerusalem. That's what it was. It was a barley offering. Spiritually, the counting mirrors the journey of our ancestors in the desert who spent 49 days between Exodus and the giving of the Torah, and in preparation and anticipation, right? For stepping into where God was calling them, which is freedom. So the counting of the Omer also invites us to delve deep into the soul. There are 7 basic emotions that comprise the spectrum of the human experience. And in fact, a distortion of these emotions is at the root of all forms of enslavement. That is a powerful statement. That is a powerful statement. And I have been practicing this now. This is going to be my 3rd year doing this all the way through. And I can fully see what this means. These 7 attributes are attributes of God, and it is what we are made in the image of. So each of the 7 weeks is dedicated to examining and refining one of those 7 emotions. Those emotions are chesed, which is loving kindness, gevura, which is justice and discipline or restraint, tiferet, which is harmony and compassion, netzach, which is endurance, hod, which is humility, yesod, which is bonding, and malchut, which is sovereignty, leadership, and also nobility. So if you think about this, we're going to look at all of these, how they connect to each other, and how this is at the root. We want to have an ability to be, I want to say, secure in these, but how we can really hone these areas of our own life as we line up and learn about how God is. It's important to note that counting of the Omer is not concerned with destroying old negative character traits in order to rebuild new ones. It's not about that. Its purpose is to actually experience a transformation. And it's a transformation of negative, self-defeating, self-sabotaging traits that we do because it's habit, into positive ones. And it's what we're going to be doing as we count down those 49 days. So I want to invite you, and over the course of the next 2 weeks, we're going to be talking a lot more about this and preparing us to start on the 16th. There is a wonderful app. Dan, did you give me back my phone? Oh, thank you. No? Yes? Is it here? Anyway, it's called Myomer, and you can download it for free. And it's I'm sure you can do it. I have it on my iPhone. But do you have my phone, or did you give it back to me? So it looks, I can't zoom in on that. See that blue? It looks like that. I don't know if it's coming in, but we start countdown, and it won't open until that day. It's a free app, and it will, thank you, honey. And it's beautiful, and it opens with that. And so right now we're counting down 18 days until we start counting of the Omer. So there's a lot of great stuff in here. We're going to be a lot of talking back and forth in the group. We're going to be doing a live on Wednesdays. And who knows, maybe what I'll do, I'm kind of figuring this out as we go. Maybe what we'll do is make our Wednesdays something where people can jump in. I don't know. We're going to figure it out as we go. And it's going to be awesome. So if you have anybody that wants to join us, it's going to be, there's daily reading, which you'll get right on your phone if you have the app. We also have an incredible section in the workbook here, so you can follow along and you can write in there. This is your book for your year. Think of that. That's what I love about these. So every year at the beginning of the year, we come out with a new one. And I love this cover. I don't know how we're going to be able to make it better next year, but we will figure out what God wants for us next year. But we want to invite you into that, and we will definitely be talking more and more about that. So we'll be doing that in the Self-Care, Soul Care Sanctuary group. So if you are in our Get Inspired group, we invite you to join us in the Self-Care, Soul Care group. We have a lot happening in there. We'll probably be tuning into some of Judy's meditations in there. We're fleshing all this out, but we're super excited to do that and to do this with you guys. So if you have any questions about it, please feel free to talk about it on underneath here. And I'm excited. So enjoy these last couple days of winter officially, even though here spring is in full effect. And I pray all the blessings and aligning with you as we usher in this incredible new month, this incredible new season, and an incredible new time for self-care, soul care. So love you guys. Have a beautiful day. Bye.